I don't remember my father. He died when I was 2 years old. My mother married a second time. This second marriage brought her a great deal of sorrow, though it was a marriage of love. My stepfather was a musician. His history was a remarkable one. He was the strangest, the most extraordinary man I have ever known. His image is very vivid among the earliest impressions of my childhood, so vivid that those impressions have had an influence on the whole of my life. First of all, to make my story intelligible, I will give a sketch of his biography. Everything which I am now going to tell you, I learned later on from the celebrated violinist B., who was a comrade and intimate friend of my stepfather's in his youth. My stepfather's surname was Yefimov. He was born on the estate of a very rich landowner and was the son of a poor musician, who, after years of wandering, had settled on the estate of this landowner and played in the latter's orchestra. The landowner lived in luxurious style and loved music passionately, above everything. The story was told of him that, though he never left home, even to go to Moscow, yet on one occasion he took it into his head to go to some watering place abroad, and that he went there for no longer than a few weeks with the sole object of hearing a famous violinist who, as the newspapers announced, was going to give 3 concerts at the watering place. He had himself a fairly good orchestra of musicians, on which he spent almost the whole of his income. This orchestra my stepfather entered as a clarinet player. He was 22 years old when he made the acquaintance of a strange man. In the same district there was living a wealthy count, who ruined himself over keeping up a private theatre in his house. This count had dismissed the conductor of his orchestra, an Italian, for bad conduct. The Italian certainly was a bad man. After he had been turned off, he sank into complete degradation. He took to going from one village tavern to another, got drunk, sometimes begged, and there was no one in the whole province who would employ him. It was with this fellow that my stepfather made friends. This connection was strange and inexplicable, for no one noticed that he changed for the worse in his behaviour through imitation of his friend. And even his patron himself, who had at first forbidden him to associate with the Italian, afterwards winked at their friendship. At last the Italian met with a sudden death. One morning he was found by some peasants in a ditch by the dam. An inquest was held, and it appeared that he had died of an apoplectic fit. His belongings were in the keeping of my stepfather, who promptly produced evidence that he was entitled to take possession of them. The Italian had left a note in his own handwriting, bequeathing everything he had to my stepfather in case of his death. The property consisted of a black frock coat which had been carefully preserved by its late owner, as he never gave up hope of getting a situation, and of a rather ordinary-looking violin.